Oh, I apologize, everybody. Epic failure. Missed the sunrise. I mean, it's a nice angle. We're getting some side light on the bridge, but nothing crazy. You can blame it on my girlfriend, Kylie. She wanted to start running right before sunrise, which gave me all but zero time to actually come up here and get a good shot of, you know, the bridge at sunrise. That's all right. We're just out here for a little bit of a nature walk. Okay, but long ago, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, when I was more into stuff like this, landscape photography, I was known as the photographer that carried way too much camera gear into the field. I would bring 2 full-frame camera bodies into the field, one for time-lapse, one for just taking, you know, regular stills and stuff. But for the most part, I've kind of slimmed down my kit to carry just one main camera body. But yeah, unfortunately, that mindset has sort of creeped into my videography and my YouTube and my vlogging kind of setup. Of course, I've got like the main video camera right here. This is the ZV-E1 with the 20mm f1.8 lens. I've had this set up for a while, and that used to be like my only video camera. And then all of a sudden I got this guy here, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Nice little compact setup, but I kind of use this as an excuse or a camera that I could kind of take anywhere because it's so pocketable and be like super ultra lightweight and portable and all that kind of stuff. But then I realized I was kind of missing some shots with this guy, and it was kind of getting a little bit annoying to use at some point. So then I got one of these. This is terrible. This is the DJI Osmo 360. You know, it's a small little action camera that I can place either, you know, on a tripod and get like a 360 angle, or I could place it on the back of my big telephoto setup and get kind of like a POV sort of view. So then when Apple came out with the iPhone 17 Pro Max with all of its new 45 megapixel lenses and cameras and new selfie camera and stuff, I thought, maybe I could get back into doing more video stuff with the iPhone. That's where this guy comes into play. And over the past year, I've started to notice that my far-sightedness has gotten worse and worse. I've become more and more nearsighted. So that's when I picked up these guys. These are the Oakley Meta HSTNs. They're smart glasses. And I've been using it for the past couple of days while we're here in San Francisco. So in this video, we're gonna kind of compare and contrast all of my different sort of purchases over the years and try to see if we can dwindle it down to maybe like 1, 2, maybe 3 things that will be kind of less overwhelming and less, what is it called? Analysis paralysis when I'm thinking about what to film. So one of the most important things that I take into consideration whenever I'm thinking about buying a new piece of camera gear is its size and portability. So we'll talk about that first. So even when we're talking about the full frame camera, the ZV-E1, that's going to be like the biggest and bulkiest out of all of these things. Even that camera is relatively small and lightweight and portable in comparison to the other cameras from Sony in its class. This thing is like the smallest housing for this beautiful 12 megapixel sensor. And when we compare it to my Sony Alpha 1 here, you can kind of see, that the Alpha 1 Mark 1 does come up slightly higher, but it's a relatively small footprint still. But the ZV-E1 definitely holds the edge in terms of size and portability. But because the ZV-E1 requires another lens in addition to the body itself, that's gonna increase the size and the footprint as well. Oh, and let's not also forget about the extra batteries. So this is the Tri-Charge that I have by Jupio and Peter Lindgren. But because I am usually bringing along my full frame camera, I'm gonna have to bring extra spare batteries anyways. Now when we talk about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, it is relatively small, packable and portable. It only takes up just maybe half the space in this fanny pack right here. A very nice and small and compact solution. What I don't have right now though is the extra battery clip that maybe takes up a little bit more space. But because of its length though, I wouldn't really consider it to be like necessarily like a pocketable solution, especially with this case on there, and you really do want to have the case to kind of protect this gimbal. The next thing that we got is this guy, the DJI Osmo 360, and this thing kind of is pocketable. It's kind of nice and flat, and it is a little bit thick if you have this case on, but if you take this case off, it really slims down a lot more. And what I also really like is that the battery case, these batteries don't last all that long, especially if you're like kind of recording continuously. But the battery case is like nice and slim. This is it right here. So you've got, you know, couple room for like 3 batteries, and I got one inside the body itself, but it is really nice and really slim. Okay, now something that is indeed pocketable and relatively easy to carry around is the iPhone 17 Pro Max with 3 lenses that are very good quality in your pocket. So it's easy to fit in the pocket, in the fanny pack, in the speed stash, in the back pocket even. That's usually where it lives. So no problem there. The glasses itself, when it comes to the Oakley Meta HSTNs, I usually wear them when I'm out most of the time because I'm going to be driving, I'm going to be looking around at stuff and need to be able to see, first of all. But the problem with these guys is actually the battery case is super big and super bulky. You can see here, not the most slim solution. It's quite thick. It's quite bulky. So while it can fit in the fanny pack, you know, kind of sitting right on top the DJI Osmo Pocket there, it can fit in the speed stash, you know, that kind of stuff. Could fit inside the camera bag, but it is a little bit tall, I would say. Doesn't necessarily fit in the pocket. You know, it's kind of looking a little bit ridiculous. So, you know, I'm gonna have to find a home for this guy for sure. Got a crow sitting on this railing over here. I'm gonna try to see if I can grab a shot of him with the bridge in the background here. Pretty funny, the shots that we're getting of these guys here. So took some shots with the bridge directly behind the bird, and then when the bird kind of turns off to the left, put the bridge on the left. When the bird turns to the right, put the bridge on the right. Kind of makes like a nice balanced shot in my opinion. But yeah, Kylie's gonna finish up her run. We're gonna try and film a little bit more of this video on this trip, but can't promise that we'll be able to finish all of it, but we will try our best. All right, folks, out here today in the Muir Woods with Kylie. She's over there, just off camera. So this is gonna be a little bit awkward, but wanted to talk today a little bit about image quality in comparison to all of these 5 separate cameras. And we'll kind of overlay some side-by-side comparisons as well. But when we're talking about image quality for the ZV-E1 or the full frame camera, of course, this image is probably going to look the best. It has a 35mm full frame sensor that's going to give you the best shallow depth of field, especially if you pair it with a 1.8 or a 2.8 lens like the lens that I have here, which is the Sony 20mm f1.8. With this full frame sensor, it's going to be able to gather a bunch of light, so you're going to be able to get the best image and the cleanest image in low light situations. This comes especially handy for when I'm filming my astro vlogs or doing Milky Way photography, and I'm trying to film some behind the scenes stuff for that. And even when I'm in like relatively low light situations like blue hour or dawn and dusk and all that kind of stuff, the image still comes out very, very clean because of this sensor's dual native ISO of 6400 on the low end and 12,800 on the upper end. Now when we're talking about this guy, the Osmo Pocket 3, it still has a 1-inch sensor in this little gimbal thing up here. So you still get pretty decent image quality, good color science with the D-Log color profile, and it's a 20mm lens, which means you still get just that ever so slight shallow depth of field. It's not going to be anywhere near as good as like a full frame at f1.8 or f2.8, but you still get a very subtle shallow depth of field effect, which can be cinematic if you're into that kind of stuff. And when we talk about this guy, the DJI Osmo 360, it is very much an action camera. It has very little shallow depth of field, so it's not cinematic per se, but the benefit of this is that you get that 360 view and you can crop into its 8K quality, you can crop into a 4K image and still get a pretty nice and sharp image. For me personally, I would consider this to be kind of less cinematic, but the trade-off is that it's more versatile because you can film in every direction possible. All right, so here is the Osmo 360. Essentially, it's like a set it and forget it camera. So even though if I go this way, the camera itself isn't moving, but because we have two 360 cameras, you can track me kind of around the whole entire scene. But right kind of here in the middle line, that's kind of where things get a little bit funky. You can have this weird warping effect as the software kind of blends the two cameras, but it's pretty cool. You can kind of go all the way around the scene. And when it comes to the iPhone 17 Pro Max, you now have three 48 megapixel cameras. You got the ultra wide 0.5, which is a 13mm focal length. That's probably not going to give you any shallow depth of field because it's so ultra wide. But then you've also got the 1X camera. That's a 24mm focal length, gives you very, very small amounts of shallow depth of field. And then you've got the now 4X, which is 100mm in focal length, and that's going to give you a decent amount of shallow depth of field because of its focal length itself, even though it is such a small sensor in comparison to full frame. Realistically, I don't know how many people are going to be vlogging at 100mm, so you know, it's nice that it's there, but it's not necessarily made for vlogging. And you even got this nice brand new selfie camera that can auto rotate because it's a 18 megapixel square sensor, so you can both film horizontally like this, even though the camera is vertical like this, or you can flip it and film vertical even though the camera is vertical. But it's pretty cool. It is a nice to have, and it definitely makes vlogging this way with the front-facing camera a lot easier. In terms of the Meta glasses, I wouldn't necessarily use these for vlogging, but I guess we could try in a pinch. So the vlogging camera, the camera itself is this camera. So I don't know, let's see. How does the shallow depth of field look? I'm kind of holding it approximately the same length away from the camera. I don't think you're gonna get any shallow depth of field. There's no way that this sensor is all that big. It's gonna produce all that nice of an image, but who knows, maybe it can work in a pinch. You know, but the downside of having these glasses and filming with these glasses, or at least vlogging in these glasses, is that you only get a vertical crop. You don't get a horizontal crop. So it makes it a little bit harder to use on horizontal facing platforms like YouTube. It's perfect for like Instagram and stuff. But it does spit out a 3K image. So while I wouldn't necessarily rely on it for like your main vlogging camera, it's a nice supplemental camera to have just in case that you kind of need that hands-free POV type of shot. When it comes to stabilization, I wouldn't be concerned too much about this stuff, at least for my own personal use, because most of the time when I'm filming something, I'm not doing too much of this like traditional like hand holding the camera and vlogging. I'm more usually setting the camera down on a tripod and, you know, having a static shot kind of look. But if stabilization is something you care about, then I did do a little bit of a stabilization test here. When it comes to using the full frame camera, you do have to be, I guess, a little bit mindful of your camera movements, especially if you don't have it in the active steady shot mode. But once you have it in that active steady or dynamic active steady shot, as long as you don't need like that ultra wide angle, the stabilization is pretty good. All right, we got front facing camera on the iPhone. I don't know, I wouldn't expect this to be super crazy, but how's the stabilization look? I do think the iPhone has some pretty decent stabilization. There's just kind of digital stabilization when it comes to video, but we'll see how it compares. And yeah, I'm not even gonna try and handhold vlog with the 4X lens. All right, now we got the Osmo Pocket 3. It does have the built-in gimbal, so hopefully it is a little bit more stable, or at least more stabler than the regular full frame camera. This is the Osmo 360. It's got the rock steady technology, so I'm thinking it should be mostly stable. Kind of swirling around here, kind of erratic movements. In terms of stabilization with the Meta Oakleys, I wouldn't necessarily consider them to be kind of up to par in comparison to the other cameras, because they are a wearable thing, and plus it's on your neck, so your neck always frequently like moves up and down and left and right kind of sporadically. So when you have them on, you kind of have to be a little bit aware of where you're kind of pointing your head per se. Whew. Yeah, now the fog has cleared. We're just back out here at Hawk Hill just killing some time while we wait for sunset. But in this next section, we'll talk about audio, but I'm not going to spend too much time here comparing the built-in microphones on all of these products, because in my opinion, if you are serious about doing any sort of vlogging or video recording or having good audio for YouTube, you're going to want to use an external mic system like the DJI Mics. Now, the good thing about using DJI products with the DJI Mics is that they seamlessly pair well via Bluetooth to either the Pocket 3 or the DJI Osmo 360. Now, switching between transmitter between these two products is a little bit of a hassle. You kind of have to like unpair and pair them up again. But switching between these two devices and the receiver is actually pretty seamless and pretty easy. So essentially my setup is one transmitter for Pocket 3 and the second transmitter in the kit is used for the 360, and both of those can switch seamlessly back and forth between either these two cameras and the regular camera with the receiver. What you can do is hit the record button down here, and now I'm recording 32-bit float audio, so essentially like raw audio, and I can easily sync it with whatever clip I'm recording on here, or whatever clip I'm recording with the iPhone. I'm not even using any of the fancy time code features that are now included on the DJI Mic 3. I'm just using the waveforms from each camera in DaVinci Resolve's software to kind of sync all the audio up in post. Well, we were gonna shoot sunset here. This is Rodeo Beach, but a little bit drizzly and the sunset doesn't look like it's gonna do anything crazy, so this is gonna do it for us here in San Francisco, but we'll finish up the rest of the video back home on Oahu. All right, folks, so we are back here on Oahu at Black Point once again, photographing the Wa'ukani, and we're just doing a quick test and comparisons of all of the cameras that we're comparing in this video in low light conditions. So this is blue hour. We were recording S-Log3 maxed native base ISO at 12,800, and yeah, the image looks really, really bright. If you see and compare it to the Oakleys, you can see that the Oakley's image, I'm sure, is very, very dark, but because of the full frame sensor built into this thing, the image looks really, really bright with this overexposed background. Here's a blue hour image test with the 0.5 lens. Apple log. Blue hour image with the 1x lens in Apple log. And with the 4X camera in Apple log. Got some activity going on out there. If we come down here, there's some nesting there. Some flying out there. Pretty good, pretty good. Osmo 360 right here. I gotta switch it into like its low light mode here. Super night mode, that's the mode here. Yeah, the image Looks quite a bit artificial, almost. But, you know, it's pretty bright. You've got the back sky that's pretty overexposed here. In blue light situations, it's not terrible. It's definitely usable. Okay, now time for the Osmo Pocket 3. The image doesn't look quite as bright as the Osmo 360, but it definitely is still usable here. Let me just flip it into selfie mode. Ooh, it looks really, really dark there. Can you brighten me up a bit? Yeah, the image doesn't look terrible. There we go. Now it's really starting to kind of brighten things up as it's realizing that I'm the subject of the video here. Yeah, also not too terrible in low light conditions, especially for blue hour. Definitely usable per se. Found Garrett. Yeah, they're coming out today. Hopefully we can get them, of course, again, flying by us, flying by our heads here. It is still a little bit dark for wildlife, and especially like in-flight shots, but we're just gonna give it a go. And then when the sun comes up, we'll shoot into the sun with all of the cameras and just kind of see how everything compares with dynamic range, and shooting in like the most extreme high dynamic range scene with the harsh sunrise light. We'll just kind of compare all the images and how they look. Oh, we got a fledgling getting fed by an adult. Like, this is cool. Start recording with the Meta glasses here. There he goes. Shoot. I was like in between taking video and photo, and that's when he decided to take off. So, quite often I'm shooting in these situations. We've got harsh sunrise light, we're shooting into the sun, blasting into our camera. And obviously in this situation, the dynamic range is going to be very hard for a sensor to capture. I think the full frame probably will do it best, but I don't know, we'll kind of see. It's definitely blown out with those highlights there, but the shadows are all nice and well exposed. And yeah, if we take a look with the Ray-Ban glasses or Oakley glasses or whatever these things are called, I think the dynamic range, just due to its like, you know, processing and artificial stuff, I think it actually looks pretty good. It's not too bad, it's not too terrible. If we fire up the iPhone here, this is the 0.5 camera. Of course, it's gonna probably look the best, but again, we're not in any super high dynamic range scene if we're facing away from the sun. Turn the camera around here, and that's kind of the image you get with the 0.5. There's one coming in hot right there, right above Garrett's head. Flip to the 1X camera. Follow this bird. Two birds coming in hot right around him. Look at that image. Ooh, one more bird. Yeah, that's the 1X camera. This is supposed to be like the best camera coming in. Check out this bird coming in hot, straight at our heads here. Woohoo! And then we'll go 4X. That's not a bad image either. There's a bird flying there. Birds flying there. I can't believe I'm not shooting right now. I'm shooting video more than anything. But yeah, the dynamic range of the iPhone with the 4X camera is not bad. You can really see the sunball there. Ooh. Ooh. All right, shut up, Spencer. The birds are kicking off right now. It's time to shoot. Got the Osmo 360. Let's get this thing out of night mode. We'll just go panoramic video here. Auto settings, and it's perfect because we've got this guy putting on more of a clinic on how to fly around humans that are trying to take their picture here. Look at that, look at that, look at that. It's so crazy. Anyways, let's take a look at the image on the 360 camera here. Obviously, it looks very 360 camera-esque and very similar to this morning. You know, looks quite artificial, but the dynamic range isn't too crazy. It's actually quite similar to the full frame camera. Just this one section where the sun is pretty much overblown, but everything else looks like to be exposed fairly nicely. So now with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, we probably have to adjust the ND filter. We'll put it at 5 stops there. All right, face track is enabled. Kind of facing the sun. Once again, it's a little bit dark, but again, it's not too terrible. And the dynamic range, I think, is pretty good. And it kind of looks quite similar to both of these guys. One thing about these small sensors and these DJI sensors is that the fall off between highlights and sky is a little bit more harsh. Like you can see right here in this area, the sun just gets super overexposed, but then you've got this very harsh fall off between sunlight and the rest of the sky, whereas on the we'll stop recording here. On the Sony, it's a little bit more subtle and a little bit more natural. You've kind of got this like natural fall off a little bit more here with that sunlight. But yeah, overall, all of these cameras are pretty capable in blue hour and golden hour. Pretty decent dynamic range overall. The real difference is when we're going to be filming astro videography or astro vlogs. That's where you're going to really see the difference between these small sensors and, you know, the full frame camera. But we got to get ourselves in the astrophotography setting to test that. This is what the ZV-E1 looks like in extreme low light. You can see you got stars going. This is like maximum settings, 1/15 of a second. f1.8 ISO 64,000. iPhone 17 Pro Max, the 1X camera, which is, I believe, the camera with the biggest, best sensor. So you can see a little bit of the stars. This is filming in Apple Log. See a little bit of the stars there. If you look towards the sunrise, image gets better because there's more light. There's the moon. Let's try the 4X. Yeah, the 4X camera is better. It looks noisy, but you can still kind of make out some stars in the moon. Pan down here, there's a star right over the horizon there. Some Meta Ray-Ban glasses here in pitch black, near pitch black conditions with the stars out. How does the image look? Now I'm pointing more towards the sunrise. You got the moon there. So when we're talking about how hard or difficult it is and ease of use for vlogging with all of these cameras, the most cumbersome is probably the full frame camera. So we've got the ZV-E1 here, and I just picked up the 16mm f1.8 G lens because when I'm filming most of my vlogs, I'm going to be wanting to be filming anywhere from like 16mm, or my typical focal length is 20mm, so it's usually kind of punching in like this with the vlog camera, and I kind of get that 20mm angle. But I also picked up this guy as well, the 20-200 from Sigma, and this thing is replacing the 28-200. So now I kind of have two lenses to be used for vlogging. But the problem with that is that the bulkiness and the footprint of this whole setup, like we talked about earlier, obviously increases. You've got, you know, a wide angle lens, you've got extra lenses. So while you do get that versatility comes at a cost, and that cost is usually carrying more gear on your back into the field. So when we're talking about the ZV-E1, you know, of course you've got the interchangeability of the lenses, you got that nice, beautiful cinematic shallow depth of field that you're, you know, viewing right now. Creates the best looking image by far out of all of these guys. The problem that I always have though with the ZV-E1 is the fact that it's not weather sealed, or it's not weather sealed very well. It does have a little bit of weather sealing, but it is made by Sony, and Sony is notorious for having terrible weather sealing. So I try to shy away from using this thing in, you know, for seascapes and saltwater environments and really heavy rain environments. It can handle a little bit of light rain, but I get a little bit nervous whenever, you know, I'm shooting in like a downpour. It also has amazing autofocus. I rarely ever have to worry about this thing getting out of focus, even with the shallow depth of field. The autofocus is absolutely amazing. And in a pinch, it can also work as an impromptu photo camera. All right, so honestly, when we're talking about this guy, the Osmo Pocket 3, it's a very nice solo creator type of device, especially with the face track and the subject tracking. It's nice to create like those dynamic walking, moving shots without having to really adjust the camera or worry about framing. And the fact that it also has, you know, a gimbal built into it is also very helpful. You don't have to worry too much about stabilization. The main reason why I got this Osmo Pocket 3 though was to kind of replace the ZV-E1 as kind of like my seascapes video camera, because this thing is so small and lightweight and portable. It's also a lot cheaper than the ZV-E1, and we'll talk about price, you know, in the coming up later on in the video. You have the ability to also purchase DJI Care Refresh. It's a lot easier and a lot less stress to worry about if I end up dropping this thing in the ocean. But that problem was solved when I, you know, picked up the Osmo 360. I figured the Osmo 360 could almost replace the Pocket 3 for seascapes, because this thing actually is submersible and weather resistant and all that jazz. In addition to that, the Osmo 360's kind of unique feature is that it gives you that nice 360 view, so you can kind of just set it and forget it and reframe whatever you want in post-processing. Of course, it eats at your post-processing workflow, but at least you have that flexibility that is not given with either this camera or the Osmo Pocket 3. Now, the downside of that is that it becomes a much longer editing process. Like, editing Spencer hates this thing because you're watching whatever happens back in real time, basically from multiple different angles. And when we're talking about the iPhone, for me, I've always kind of incorporated iPhone photos and iPhone videos into my vlog, and you know, just because of how convenient it is to use. You always have your phone with you, so it's so easy to, you know, pull it out of your pocket, fire up the camera, now with this action button and all that stuff, and just grab a quick clip. It's, to me, a lot easier to pull this thing out of my pocket than it is to go digging through my camera bag or digging through my fanny pack, pull out the Osmo Pocket 3, flip it open, wait for it to boot up, and then start filming. Same thing with the Action 360. And the benefit of the iPhone is that it has like those multiple different lenses. You got the ultra wide lens, you got the 24mm or 1x lens, and then you've got like this really beautiful 48 megapixel high resolution telephoto lens that's, I think, closer to like 100mm. And even when we're talking about this new selfie camera from the iPhone here, when we flip it into selfie mode and start filming with this square sensor, it's really nice to get like a nice horizontal image without having to, you know, flip the camera over. And obviously it's nice and handy to have if you've got adequate light like we have right now. But this front-facing camera and this front-facing sensor is still not as good as the rear-facing cameras in low light situations, especially that 1X camera. And then when you, of course, you kind of flip the camera over into that 1X mode and start filming here, we'll do it like this. See, it's kind of awkward and cumbersome to kind of do. But you know, you're filming, you kind of don't really have a good idea of what exactly it is that you're filming. You can fire up your Apple Watch and get kind of like this live preview going on right there. You can kind of see what we're doing and, you know, kind of frame it up like that. But it is not the most convenient solution if you're trying to film like vlogs like this. The main downside of using the iPhone so much as a video camera is that it eats at your storage, especially if you are shooting an Apple log, which I'm doing most of nowadays because the image just looks so much better than the baked-in image of, you know, regular Apple video. But that's why I got the 2 terabyte storage model, because I was planning on using this more as a video camera in addition to my everyday phone. I needed that extra storage to take video, and I just got to be a lot more judicious about clearing the storage of the phone once I'm done filming it and I offload it to a hard drive, or I do my whole backup process and all that kind of stuff. It also has pretty solid weather sealing at IP68 weather sealing. It can actually be submerged in water and for an extended amount of time and pretty much be fine. So I wouldn't be super worried using this thing as a seascape sort of camera if I needed to in a pinch. You know, the thing is that I'm always going to have my phone with me, so I might as well use the phone as a video camera and incorporate it a little bit more into my workflow. That way I can kind of leave all the rest of these cameras at home. And that concept is very similar to how I feel about, you know, the Meta glasses. While the quality is not the best, it's only 3K vertical video, I'm always going to have my glasses because I need them to see far distances. I need the prescription, right? The fact that they can record video hands-free, it's a nice POV shot, it's a nice perspective shot. Whether it's holding the camera or I'm just kind of walking, hiking into a scene, it's so easy to just reach up here, grab a clip, film it, and do all that kind of stuff. The glasses are also IPX-P4, something like that, rated, so it's good in light rain. It's good if I am sweating in these things will be okay. But with that relatively low weather sealing rating, it can't be submerged. So I just have to be careful to make sure these things don't fall off my face and fall into the water or you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, one of the big downsides, I've been kind of going hard with the filming on these glasses today, because, you know, obviously we got a lot of wildlife action. We're trying to do stuff with the vlog, and it's dead already. It's like 10% battery. And yeah, while the battery life does suck, if I'm not using it all the time or if I'm just using it to grab quick little clips, I think I should be okay. But there's one section or one point that I forgot to talk about when we were over by Black Point. One of the big inconveniences of using the Meta glasses for somebody like me who always wears some sort of hat, like baseball hat, because I'm too lazy to kind of do my hair in the morning, especially when I'm waking up at the butt crack of dawn for sunrise. But if I try to film with these guys, you can see that the baseball cap, the brim, if it's front facing, it's gonna get in the shot because it's a vertical shot. You know, if you want to get the best optimal sort of shot here, you kind of want to flip the hat back this way. So, you know, you might see me wearing my hat backwards more like this now that I've got these glasses. We picked up a straggler. Now we're doing a hike.
Yeah. We kidnapped them.
All right, so when we're talking about the price of all of these different video camera options, obviously the most expensive one is going to be the professional full frame camera. It's about $2,000 for the ZV-E1 with this full frame sensor, and then you add on $1,000 plus depending on which lens you pair it with. In my case, I have it paired with the 16mm f1.8G lens, which is like $800, $900. And then I've also got the Sigma 20 to 200 on it right now. So that's like another $1,000 right there. So the price infinitely goes up the more lenses and the more options you kind of give yourself for your videography. Now the benefit is that I can use all of these lenses not just for video making. I can also use the 16 f1.8 for astrophotography. The 20 to 200 is a nice versatile zoom lens for landscape photography. So you know, there are several other uses I get out of using all of these lenses, but if we're just talking about the most expensive option out of all of these cameras, then definitely it's going to be the ZV-E1 in the full frame setup. The next most expensive option is probably the iPhone, or this iPhone in particular. $2,000 for the 2TB 17 Pro Max, but you get these 3 built-in lenses and you also get a phone essentially out of it. So you're paying primarily for the storage with this thing, but there is also an option to add on like something like this, an external SSD, MagSafe onto the device, and then that opens up a whole lot of other recording options with the iPhone if you are interested in that kind of stuff. And then this also saves a lot on storage, but a lot of times I don't necessarily have the forethought to get this thing out of the fanny pack, slap this thing on, get the wire over here, plug it in. It's just a whole hassle where I just want to kind of pull the phone out and start filming, And then the more budget-friendly options would be the Osmo Pocket 3. Ranges, depending on which creator combo you get, from $600 to $800. And, it's a nice kind of mid-range option, good image quality, but it won't necessarily break the bank. And especially with the DJI Care Refresh, if you end up accidentally breaking this thing, you get a new one for free, and that's also helpful as well. The Osmo Action 360 is around the same price range as well, that $600 to $800 price range, depending on what build or what adventure combo you get from it. You also get some spare batteries, which is also helpful. When we talk about these Meta Oakley glasses, they are of course prescription glasses, and kind of spec them out and customize them to have the transition lenses, as well as kind of like the lightest glass elements as possible. So surprisingly, the custom build only came out to around $700. Now $700 is not an exorbitant amount of money to be paying for prescription eyeglasses. So it kind of made sense that if I was gonna end up needing prescriptions, to try and get something that I can actually have a little bit more functionality with as well. All right, so in conclusion, moral of the story is I have way too much video cameras now, and I kind of have to whittle it down. So definitely got to keep the ZV-E1. Love the full frame image, and I love the extreme performance that it gives for astro photography, vlogs, and astro video. Definitely going to keep the iPhone. It's literally the most versatile camera out of all of these things, minus the ZV-E1 with the 20 to 200, but it's super versatile. It can fit in my pocket. I'm going to be carrying it around everywhere anyways as my phone, so I might as well incorporate it more into my video making process. The Oakleys, definitely keeping them just for my vision's sake, and the fact that it has a nice POV camera on top of that is a big plus. The Osmo Pocket 3, as popular as this camera is and as much as I've liked it, I don't think, with the addition of the Oakleys and the iPhone, I don't think there's necessarily a place for this guy in my workflow. I'll hold on to it, and if I really need something extremely small and pocketable, then I'll probably reach for this. And as long as I'm not doing any sort of astro vlogs or doing anything that needs to be super cinematic, this still might come in handy, but I can definitely see myself using this guy less and less in the future. Just not super certain what I'm gonna do with the Action 360. because it is nice to have a waterproof 360 camera. Again, a kind of a set it and forget it sort of system. But with the POV glasses, it doesn't really fit the current state of my workflow that I have for it, which is using it as a POV camera for the video, for the wildlife camera. And especially the fact that it's super ultra wide. It's a good thing for storytelling, but for wildlife in particular, it's not necessarily the best unless the wildlife is coming towards you. So still a little bit undecided on this guy. I might kind of keep it in the bag and see if it makes its way out in the field in the future, but I honestly think I can probably get away with just using the iPhone and the glasses to kind of supplement the main video camera. But you know, hopefully this video was helpful if you are deciding between any of these products. Let me know which camera or cameras you would use in your video making workflow. But I think that's gonna about do it for me. I'm gonna try and hunt for more birds, but I don't know, this place is kind of not kicking off this time of year, so oh well, it is what it is. But thanks so much for watching. If you like this type of content, this travel, vacation, a little bit of photography, education, hit that like button, comment below, subscribe if you aren't already, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.